In this video, we're going to be looking at annotative dimensioning. Annotative dimensioning is going to solve the problem that you have encountered previously where when you scaled a viewport in one of your layout tabs in Paperspace, the text that you put with your model was scaled along with it. So annotative dimensioning will keep that text height or your arrows and dimension lines at the proper size, so the text will still come out at 0.125 and the arrows won't be twice the size they need to be or anything like that. So to get started, I'm going to go into the dimension style menu, which is just I type DIMSTY. I think you can also just type D and hit enter. So styles, I'm going to click on annotative. So my current dimension style is annotative. I'm going to hit modify just to make sure everything's how I want it to be. Lines, symbols, and arrows I shouldn't have to worry about. Text, I want to make sure that I'm specifying my text height to be 0.125. Text alignment you might want to change. Occasionally, some of you have had AutoCAD defaults to putting the text aligned with the dimension line. So a vertical dimension would have vertical aligned text or aligned like this. Probably just want to keep it horizontal if we have room to do so. Then we're going to come into the Fit tab and make sure that Scale for Dimension features we have Annotative turned on. Just as far as other things you might want to look out for in the Dimension Style menu, in primary units, we can change to decimal, scientific, fractional, change the precision of our, how many decimal places we're going to use if we're using a decimal unit. It's worth noting that this is just for linear dimensions, and we also need to change the precision for our angular dimensions as well if we need to do that. Okay, so just one last time. Text, 0.125, and fit, you make sure you have annotative turned on. So I'll hit OK, and I'm going to close this. So what I'm going to do to start out with is, here is my annotation scale. If I already know what scale I'm going to be printing out a drawing as, I would just go ahead and put that scale in here and turn on this. Basically, what this button does here is it adds scales to any dimension that you're making. When you go ahead and change the annotation scale, it will add the new scale that you've changed to the dimensions that you've already put in. So that dimension will show up in, say I have a dimension out. I'll go ahead and make one just to show you what's going on with that. So if I have a linear dimension on this side, so that's 2.5, we can see that there's, when I scroll over it, there's the annotative symbol that pops up next to my cursor. So if right now, if I click on this, it says my annotative scale is 1 to 2. If I come in and look at all these scales I have, 1 to 2 is the only one. If I were to change to 1 to 1, we can see that my text here sort of shrunk down. What was actually happening is the text theoretically is staying the same size and everything else is scaling up. So now if I click on my text again, if I go into Annotative Scale, I've got two scales here. So I've already sort of gone through and figured out what scales I want to use for which dimensions, just to save some time. So for the left side of my object here, I'm going to keep my 1 to 2 scale. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my 1 to 1 scale and get rid of that. It's usually a good idea just to have one scale showing up for each dimension if you only want that dimension to show up in a certain layout. So I'll hit OK. Instead of doing 2 more linear dimensions to sort of continue this side, what I can do is I can come into the Dimension tab and click Continue. I can just click on the side of my extension line here and just come out to the next point, and I'll go one further down and hit escape. So we can see that I forgot to change my current scale back to 1 to 2, which is what I wanted for this side. So that means that these two dimensions have a annotative scale of 1 to 1, and this one has a scale of 1 to 2. We can see that, just double check that by, if I turn off my show annotation objects function, we can see that anything outside of my current annotation scale of 1 to 1 isn't going to show up. So now if I turn off this guy, if I were to go to an annotation scale of 1 to 2, then the two dimensions that I have showing right now would disappear and my other one would come back. So there we go. So I'm going to show all my annotative objects again, and I'm going to change these guys to a scale. I'll add in a scale of 1 to 2, and I'm going to go ahead and delete the 1 to 1 scale. So now everything is the correct size for that side. Okay, so for the top and bottom, I'm going to use a scale of 1 to 4. Let's see, so I'm going to go to dimension, linear, do the full length. So you can see that these dimensions are twice as big as the 1 to 2 scale, which makes sense. Okay, and then the one final dimension that I'm going to do is this radius here. If this object looks familiar, that's probably good. This was one of your hand drawing homework assignments for section views. So for that radius, I'm going to go ahead and put a scale of 1 to 1. So I'll do sort of a detail of this radiused edge. So I'll go ahead and do dimension. What I can do is I can put in a radius, which you can see is just going to continue that arc. Alternatively, what I could do is I could hit, I could go to center mark, and I can click on this arc, and we can see it just put in a center mark for me. So I could, if I wanted to, I could put in a sort of a leader that's going to that point. I will just stick with a normal radius for now. I'll try and get that as close as possible. So I'll do something like this so that the arc isn't continued outside. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do, looks like I've already got some viewports set up, so I will delete those for now. Okay. So first of all, I'll put in the viewport that's just showing those dimensions on the left side. First, I need to make sure that I have. Okay, so let's see. These guys only have a scale of 1 to 4, and this one should only have a scale of 1 to 1. Okay, so that means that I'm going to have 3 different viewports, and each of these different annotation scales will only show up in its own unique viewport. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start just to do a normal MView viewport. Okay, so this one, my current scale of the viewport, let's see. If I go to 1 to 1, we can see that the only dimension that's going to be showing up is that radius. Nothing else is going to show up. But for this one, I think I want to have the objects on the left side show up. So if I go to 1 to 2, we can see that, oh, my radius is still showing up here for some reason. So I must have that adding a scale for some reason. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to delete my 1 to 2 scale for the radius, which got added in somehow. Okay, so there we go. My radius scale is gone, and I've got just these guys put in. If I wanted to show what the rest of my dimensions look like, if I turn back on that annotation objects, we can see that there are the rest of my missing dimensions. Okay, so layout 2, I will do a 1 to 4 scale. I'll do another rectangular viewport. Okay, this one I will put on a scale. Let's see. So, okay, that's why it changed that radius earlier. For some reason, it's coming up with a default of showing that that radius dimension, and I have add scales turned on. So I'm going to switch that off so that it won't so that it won't